Hey everyone, it's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please get a like and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, TuneIn Radio, or Google Play. You get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music and our patrons, Demon Hunter 2, Aggie Jedi Master, Electric Water Boy, Joshua, the geocaching vlogger. I think he's a little happy tonight since the Vikings won. Cashley, One Kind Word, Ravenclaw Tia, Shermanator 18, Butterfly Girl, Loon Trackers, the Aussie Geocacher, Sodak Zach, the Deadliest Cachers, Terrell 2, Neil Moore, Molly the Geocaching Dog, Team D&D, Geocaching Adam, Peachy 1276, the No Code Geocachers, Curiosity Girl, Tick Magnet, Marsipanic, Bricker John, Fire Safe, FS Sabero, Geo Rick, Cache Addict Mel, Geocaching Janji, the Geocaching Junkie, Sir Dremelot, Janice, Try Cassius, Tom Frey, Rugels, the Bruce Zero, EGK PBR, Casamaya, Master Sergeant USMC, and our new patrons, NRW and Albedo 0.39. If you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get path tags or X tags, maybe, coins, and other geocaching swag during the year, as well as invites to special events only for patrons. Support levels start at as little as $3 a month. Let me start by welcoming my co-hosts, Sydney.
Hello, everybody.
And Jesse.
Good evening.
Now let's jump right into show 82 for January 14th as we welcome John Bishop to the show. Welcome to Geocache Talk.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
We are glad you are here too, because we got some big announcements and big stuff to talk about tonight. But first, the news. I want to make a quick shout out to Tent Man Tent. And I don't know where to put the syllable correction. I screwed up his GC name. So Andy, I apologize. I sent him a note on Twitter. I made him miffed. I don't know what they say in Great Britain, but he was not happy. But it's Tent Man Tent. And he did our latest blog. And we are so grateful that he did that for us. So if anybody hasn't read our latest blog entry, go to our website, geocachetalk.com, and read the latest blog by Tent Man Tent. Was really good. We've had some excellent blog entries. I've been blown away by the amount and the quality that we've had, and really want people to go back and read all the ones we've had. As I think I mentioned last week, Geocaching Janji is kind of sort of take over the reins of that for us. So if you want to do a blog entry, please let us know. geocachetalk@gmail.com, and we'll get you in touch with Angie, and we'll get that taken care of. And love to have get more guest bloggers.
I think it's a great chance. A lot of people have thought about blogging, but don't want to keep up with it every month. It's a great place to, a collection of a bunch of different people blogging. And if they just have that one, they can try it out and, test it out, see if it's something they want to do too. Because everybody has a good story for geocaching.
Yeah.
They may not want to do it every month. So maybe a story or two probably, but send them in, put them up there and let's share them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very, very much so. I got, as you know, our little trackable number is behind us, or behind me. And some people don't know that if they listen to the audio, but if you want to watch the video, it is there. But when we get it found, gosh, quite often. It happens to be in a geocaching movie as well at some point. So we get a lot of those. But I got one, I think it was even today, from a fella, or I don't know if it's a guy, I'm sorry, maybe a woman. The geocacher's name goes by Zed Fox. And this person left a note. They are, and the reason I'm bringing this up, I'll explain why in a second, but they found our trackable number and discovered it. And this person is a over the road, over the road trucker. So they geocache whenever they can as they travel, as the person is driving cross country for us. We appreciate the work that our truckers do. But I found that interesting that, we are able to provide, entertainment for different folks. And I think sometimes we kind of forget that we, are kind of providing a point of entertainment for people. And it really means a lot to us to know that people are listening and enjoying the show. And we get people who mention that like last week, we had one person mention that we got them all excited about trackables again. How about that, Sydney? We got them going again on trackables.
There you go. I've always wondered about somebody that does the over the road trucking, because you'll be out caching somewhere, be driving around the road, and you'll see the truckers go by, and you're like, man, if they get to cache all of the time, do they get to a bunch of states or
right? But
I don't know exactly how it works. Like, do they run the same route all the time? Then you would really just run out the route, and then it wouldn't help any. Or do they get to pick? I guess a lot of them are independent contractors, so they get to pick the routes that they go. So it may change.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting we may have to get somebody on that does both geocaching and over the road trucking, and just to see,
yeah,
like what that's really like. Because to all of us that don't do it, we're like, oh, they must have all 50 states. And well, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to be an over the road trucker to Hawaii, but other than that,
right,
so 48 states. Let's
lower 48.
But that may not be, because you can't exactly just like a park and grab is not the same with an 18-wheeler, I don't think. So
no,
it's either like a rest stop or nothing, probably. So that'd be cool.
Right.
I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, Zed Fox is the guy's or woman's name. I didn't catch.
Or team. Sometimes they catch. I mean, sometimes they
could be a family. That's right. Anyway, so I was very, very thankful and very grateful that folks are listening and enjoying the show. And we're very, very happy to provide some entertainment and talk about geocaching. So we're glad to be here. So Signal is going to Australia. Hopefully everybody's got it ready, got their event ready to go, because I think you're out of time now. January 14th. It's going to be. Well, no, you have time Sunday. If you
do it.
Yeah, you can probably get it in. Just get the reviewer to
do it right now.
Do it right now. Well, not during the show.
And go do one right now.
No, don't do that.
Back. No, don't pause the show.
Right, pause the show. Come back. No. And if you need ideas, See My Shell is still posting some ideas. The last U.S. geocaching hour, you got to catch that. That's on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Central, right? Sydney, is it 9 p.m. your time?
Right. Same time as this, just on Monday.
Just on Monday. He's exactly right. But you got to come tweet chat with us. We have a great time. It's a lot of fun. We get some crazy folks on there that post video or post GIFs, and we have cool questions. I really like the questions. Sydney, you host it periodically.
I do. There's 6 of us, so generally every 6 or 7 weeks, I get to make up questions, which can be kind of hard.
Because we have done this for a while, so
right. It's been over 2 years, I think, and there's really only so many questions you can ask so many times, so it gets harder and harder.
Still a lot of fun, but somebody suggested, and don't be offended by this. This is just conversation that we had. It was back. You can order kangaroo meat. I don't know if you knew that or not. Apparently, it's delicious, but I'm not condoning. Mudak was not happy with me mentioning the.
What's wrong with eating a kangaroo?
I don't know. I don't. I'm not
pets or something.
They're like cows over there, I think, right?
Right. I don't know, but yeah. So Rich Spada, he was going back and forth, and she's like, "You can't eat the kangaroo." I was like,
"Oh man."
I'm just saying.
Not fast enough, you can.
That's right. Anyway, so looking forward to getting an Australian souvenir here in a couple weeks. So, so Jesse's got a weird story about the partnership attribute.
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, when I was on vacation, we were in Tennessee, and one of the caches I made sure I went by and got was a cache that was at a historic site. You know, it was a state park, and pretty neat cache. And you had to go inside the visitor center. But the reason why I went and got the cache was because it had the attribute, the partnership attribute. Why that's funny is, of course, I went way out of the way to get this thing, but was because
we always go way out of the way
for rare attribute, you know, and but I got it before, and it went away. I had no idea that attributes could go away from a cache, and it sucked off the profile. It was, you know, like it went away from the cache and my profile. So I've, you know, signed challenges before, and there was all the attributes, and then I went back and looked, and at the time I had it, and I went back and it was gone. I was like, "What is going on?" And so I finally went and got it again. So now I have them all. So I hope it doesn't go away again. I don't know if there's no way to lock that in, I guess. That's the first I'd ever heard about attributes disappearing.
That would be bad.
Heard that before?
Well, you can go in and edit the attributes on your own cache at any time.
But you can't put the partnership one on there.
Right, that's true. But
yeah, people can edit the attributes and you'd lose it or something if that's your only one.
Right. So I have heard that attribute gets removed once the partnership is complete.
Whoa. That would be... Well, Tom says you can lock stuff on GSEC, but I don't. But this is. But the thing about that, though,
from there, yeah,
right. It's not pulling from there. It's pulling from geocaching.com. That's an interesting question because, well, it's the same thing, Jesse. If let's say you find you found lots of them. Let's say somebody found a 5.5. It's the only 5.5 they ever found, and somebody decides, that's not really a 5.5. The cache owner goes, it's more of a 5.4. The person loses their 5.
Yeah, we've had that discussion before. People changing stuff on a cache after which it doesn't. That's not very nice.
Well, no, but it's the same idea, isn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is, but that's kind of a bummer because I know you can change all that stuff after. Yeah. You know, after a cache has been published, which seems like it might be a little bit of a flaw in the system, but.
Yeah, Wet Coaster mentioned in the chat room. He says that can really mess up things if you're going for a challenge as well.
Well, when I was working on the Jasmine the first time, somebody changed the published date of a cache, which is you really wouldn't think that you could do that. But
why would you even do that?
This happened recently.
They were playing, yeah. But if you look on Geocache and if you do a search, there's caches that were published in 1900.
Right.
So why are we allowing that to happen if that's going to mess up stats? You know, I mean, that's not okay.
Puzzle cachers will do that too sometimes. They'll change it to like July 4th, 1776 or something because they're trying to give some clue.
But you know, that's some stuff shouldn't be. That's an actual fact of stuff. You shouldn't be. I'm shocked that reviewers allow that to happen.
Right. It's almost like once you publish a cache, you almost should. It almost should be locked, I think.
We should get a Groundspeak person on the show to talk to them about this.
Funny you should mention that.
Oh.
Because we will have somebody on.
When would that be?
That is going to be in 2 weeks.
Oh, cool.
Next week is Nick is going to be on talk about maximizing Cachely. We got some cool ideas I didn't realize you could do in Cachely. But in 2 weeks, January 28th, we will have on Rock Chalk to talk about what's new at HQ. So I added your question, Jesse, by the way, into the show notes for 2 weeks away.
Oh, good. Well, there's another question.
Okay, there's another one. Well, if you need to go fix my, I worded it as best I could, but anyway. All right. Good stuff. Let's get into the show topic with John. John's been patiently waiting for us as we've been commiserating over partnership attributes, which I think is. I'm glad you brought that up, though, Jesse. So, John, first thing, give us a little background on your geocaching background.
Well, my family and I have been geocaching together since 2013, and we cache as a team. Our name is Minion Brigade. My daughter came up with that. She's a fan of the Minions, and
I'm a huge fan too. So,
right. So we have hosted several events locally. We've actually got an Australia Day one coming up. We really like these travel themed events, as you can imagine. It kind of fits right in with what we're doing. So we've got one coming up. We hosted for 2 years the Jacksonville Geocaching Challenge, the Jax Parks Geocaching Challenge, which is a challenge where we partner with the Jacksonville Parks Department.
Oh, cool.
And work
Very
closely
cool.
with them to hide caches in the parks, and then obviously folks go find them. And there's a limited number of coins that are available, only 100 each year.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
it's,
cool. It's kind of like
it turns into it's a lot like a race, and a lot of people treat it as such and have a lot of fun. There's always a big turnout. So we were excited to do that for a couple of years ago. We passed it on when we started the travel agency to focus on this. But it's going to keep going. So we're a proud part of that history.
That's awesome.
I did a lot of traveling before I started caching. And so if you look at my country count is a little modest, despite what I do. So it's that's the reason for that.
Well, that's kind of one of our, I think we all have some of those regrets, about not getting, but you're kind of fixing that now, because as you just alluded to, is that you now have a travel company. So tell us a little bit about how AMS Travel Sales sort of began, and how that is going.
We started this family-owned and operated agency this year. I have worked for travel agencies for the last 16 years, 17 years now, working for other folks, and decided I was going to make a go of it myself. And I've always thought that the geocaching community was a hand-picked community that's perfect for traveling, and it really needed someone to help them get to the different destinations and work through the processes of booking their travel and recommending things. So we decided to brand ourselves as a geocaching friendly travel agency, meaning that we understand geocaching terms like Jasmer and fizzy grids and all these things. And we're not, if you call up and say, hey, I want to fill up my Jasmer, we're not going to hang up on you. So
that's awesome.
we understand the challenges of attributes and whatnot, and the whole idea behind geocaching, because we do it ourselves and we love it. We have for years. So it's just something we wanted to kind of merge together.
Well, very cool. That's awesome. And I guess this is a good point, a good spot to mention this, but our big announcement that I've been sort of teasing this week for on Twitter, and the announcement is the fact that we are adding AMS Travel as a sponsor of Geocache Talk. So
that's right.
Welcome aboard, John. We are very excited to have you on as one of our sponsors.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We discussed this with the group, and we felt this was a perfect partnership to be involved with your company.
It'd be a great partnership, because you mentioned Jasmer, so we all need to go to Iceland to get that special cache that we have to get that fourth loop of Jasmer. So,
right, there you go.
Well, I'm looking for things to do in the next couple of years, so I might just add that to the list. Iceland is an extremely popular destination right now. I've had a number of folks want to go, and so it's certainly something that's within the realm of possibility.
Oh wow, this is awesome!
I see some big things in the future.
See, Jesse, what you did? That's perfect.
Yep.
But before that, we do have we've got two. Well, let me jump back a minute. So part of the partnership is we've got actually. I really appreciate the fact that you set up a page as part of the partnership. If people want to go out and look at amstravelsales.com/page/geocache talk, and it'll be in the show notes. But if you would like to go out to that page and take a look, John, I really like what you're doing or with our partnership we got here, and maybe we could talk briefly about a couple things that people can get from being listeners or viewers of the Geocache Talk podcast.
Sure. We've got a couple of different programs set up, mainly for the two geocache-specific travel opportunities that we have coming up: our Cache the Waves Alaska cruise that's this summer, and then the Costa Rica trip, which is next March.
Right.
For your subscribers, and your listeners, what we're doing is giving you a exclusive discount to the cost of the geocaching package that's added on to each to the cruise. Normally it's $100 per person. We're cutting that in half, 50%. So now it's only $50 per person. And what that geocaching package includes is a shirt, a coin, and access to special onboard events that we'll talk about in a minute that are totally exclusive to what we're doing with the geocaching.
Right.
And then on Costa Rica, since that's a little bit of a different animal, and we'll talk more about that, that's if you book that and you travel with us, we'll send you a $50 Amazon.com gift card.
Awesome.
Costa Rica, that's 2019, right?
That's right, 2019.
And Alaska is 2018.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's not all we're doing. With the way we have structured our business and what we offer, every trip that we offer is really a geocaching trip because we include GPX files just as a courtesy for you. So any of the destinations that, say you don't want to go to Alaska, you want to go to Iceland or you want to go to Australia, we can put together special benefits to you as well. So anything you book through us, just mention Geocache Talk, and we'll get you a special perk.
That's awesome. Yes, actually, also the little free guide to traveling with a group of friends.
Oh, that's right.
I downloaded that, and it's complimentary for Geocache Talk, and read through it. And I really liked that. It was not generic. It was had some really cool ideas within that little travel guide. So we do suggest getting that and getting on the as well as getting on your monthly newsletter list to get keep up to date with everything.
That's right. The group guide that we offer, that's something that's really geared to everybody. That's not geocaching specific, but that's something that you can take and extrapolate that what you need and share that with your geocaching group and take advantage of it.
Yeah, it had some really cool ideas for just traveling with group and being able to, because I don't know, I've been with groups before and it was kind of a mess. So, I've been with some that I try to. We have a little Motley caching crew thing we do periodically, and those we got pretty good at planning those. But you actually gave me some good ideas in that little guide. So, let's talk a little bit about this trip coming up to Alaska, the 2018 Cache the Waves 2018 Alaska. Let's kind of walk through that.
Okay. Cache the Waves is a 7-night cruise to Alaska that departs from Seattle. It goes up the Inside Passage of Alaska and visits several different ports and cruises through some very scenic areas. On the ship, we've got exclusive events going on that are just for our group that are really spectacular. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a bit. You're going to see Skagway, which is a fantastic little gold rush town. I love this place. It's so full of history. It feels like you're right in a episode of Hell on Wheels or something, because you've got the railroad there. There's a character who was a real life, he's not a character, he's a real life historical figure, named Soapy Smith, that was this crazy con man, but he conned his way up into the government, into the army, even conned the president of the United States at the time. He's so cool, and we're basing a lot of what we're doing on board the ship. We're going to be learning about him and all his misadventures and all his history, which is really neat. And you will get to see things that relate to him in Skagway. There are virtuals and earth caches in Skagway that we're going to hit. 19 caches in all. We're going to try and get them all. What I like to do, what I want to do, is do a caching excursion in the morning before lunch, then get back to the ship, have lunch, and rest a bit, then go out again if folks want to do that. We're going to kind of do a two-pronged approach, so folks have a little break in between on each of the ports.
Very cool.
So that's one port we're visiting. We're also going to visit Juneau, which is the capital of Alaska. It's got tons and tons of geocaches there, and a lot of more adventurous opportunities for folks that might want to do something a little bit more I don't know what should I say? Intense. There's a really nice mountain trail there called Mount Roberts Trail. It's got several geocaches around it. That'll be something you can do if you want. We're going to stick to the urban areas, just for folks who have limited mobility and whatnot, just to keep it easy for the main group. But there's a lot of stuff to see in Juneau.
Right.
And then after Juneau, we go to Victoria. And Victoria has a webcam cache that we're going to hit. And I know a lot of people would be excited about that. I haven't gotten a webcam cache myself, even though I live a couple hours from one down in Port Canaveral.
There's not many left, right, Jesse? We're down to...
No, that's true.
I think 116 in America now.
116 in America. So this one's actually in
Canada.
In Canada, so it's in Victoria.
Oh.
So what's cool is with this trip is that you really, and we haven't finished it even, the fact that just those right there, that's a huge, that's you're hitting some of the best parts of an Alaskan trip. And some people are talking about, I've kind of, I want to create one, or I want to set one up, and I'm thinking, we got one already set up for you. It's all ready.
That's right.
Just come join the group, and so this is, big, the fact that it's already set up. It is the dates June 15th through 22nd. We're gonna do there. We'll get to the optional stuff in a minute, but just so people can start planning. Now, even right now, right, John, they could go ahead and book and get you a deposit, right? Initial deposit for a room. So it's open. It's ready to go. Everything's ready to go. So initial deposit, $500 per room is right.
That's right.
Okay. So right now you can sign up for this trip. It's get your discounts through the fact that you're listening to the show, and the final payment's has to be made by March 17th. So you got some time for that, but you can go ahead and get your room booked already. So
I'm so jealous already. I've never been to Alaska. An Alaska geocaching cruise would be awesome. But I'm already going to be on a trip that month, so out of the country.
Well, I like the fact, and we haven't even finished talking about this trip yet, but John, I like the fact that it's pretty intense geocaching, which I really, I've heard of other caching or cruises that are sort of like, oh yeah, it's a caching trip, but that doesn't really maybe have the port, and there's usually always caches nearby, but this is like a geocaching. You're going to get quite a few caches, like you were saying, for the one place you're wanting to get in Skagway. You're hoping to get all of them in Skagway, so that's
right.
Cool.
That's right.
We'll mention this a couple times, but which way do you want people to book? Do you prefer them to give you a call and get that set up, or email, or?
The best way to get a hold of me is with email. They can call, and I'd be happy to share the number. But the easiest way is to send me an email at info@amstravelsales.com.
Okay.
And if you want to call that, I'll give you the number. It's 844-719-7802.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So, go ahead. So we mentioned Juneau, Skagway,
Victoria.
We're in Victoria, and Victoria is, from what I understand, is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous town.
It is. It's got amazing architecture and beautiful gardens. It's very, very scenic, and I don't know how often you've been to Canada, but just they take very good care of their cities, and this is just a beautiful, beautiful one. I've got the track that we're going to take to go out and get the webcam is going to take us by the world's tallest totem pole and Beacon Hill Park. And there's a Where I Go To there. If we've got time, it looks kind of intense, so I don't know. But
no, you got to have time for the Where I Go. That's awesome.
Right.
I'm sure there's earth caches there too, right?
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah.
See, there you go, Sydney. There's earth caches there.
I'd hope so. It's Alaska. There's going to be earth caches all over the place in Alaska.
Or this one, yeah. This portion of it's in Canada, but yeah, especially that area is gorgeous. Yeah, but
very beautiful.
Yep. Okay. Keep going.
All right. I'll be happy to. We're also going to go through some scenic areas. The ship's not going to stop. We're just going to cruise through Tracy Arm Fjord. You've got it's almost like a canyon going right through the mountains, and you're just cruising the ship through it, through tight passages, and there's waterfalls on either side of you. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous place to see.
Very cool.
Now, where this cruise really becomes different is with our onboard activities. We have developed, as we've been working through this, I'm thrilled to talk about this because it's something totally unique to what we're doing. We have created a series of events each night on the cruise that tie all together into one long event, one adventure game, where each event gives you it ties into the next, and all part of a story, with themes of role playing and live action and escape room kind of stuff. All of that kind of built in together to this one event. We went this year to Going Caching, which is in Rome, Georgia.
Right.
Which is a really big event that a lot of people love. And it was our first time going to it. We went as a vendor, so we didn't really get a chance to partake in all the fun. But we saw the kind of things that they did, and we were really inspired to take what we learned there and tie it into what we can do on the ship. So that's what we're doing. Basically, you and your fellow cruisers take the persona of prospectors looking for gold, mining gold throughout the gold rush. And you have the ability to use your profits to reinvest and become a better prospector, or a little devious here, you can use those profits to sabotage your fellow prospectors. And in the end, there's a racing puzzle that we've set up that you'll try and be the fastest one, and whoever is the fastest wins. So it's just something unique that we've done that I think ties in well to the mindset of geocachers and puzzle cachers and whatnot, and could even have ramifications beyond and just into a totally new form of themed cruising.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great idea. I like that idea.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I am very.
Well, Costa Rica it will be the next one, but we'll talk about that in a second.
That's right.
But so also, I mean, even after all of that, you have something even planned right after the cruise, right?
That's right. The day after when the cruise gets home, back to Seattle, I should say, we're going to go visit over to Geocaching HQ. That'll be a first for me. I've never been out there. And we're working on details to get an optional side trip out to the Tunnel of Light Ape Cache.
Wow,
so
that's cool.
that's all very exciting to me because I haven't been to Seattle myself. So
Ape Cache, Sydney. There's Ape Cache.
I know. I want to go so bad. I just.
I mean, it's perfect. So
Ape Cache and Alaska and a Canadian webcam and events on the boat.
Here's the problem. Glenn's not too hot on the whole Alaska thing. So
he's a history buff, though.
But I can't go by myself. You need somebody else.
There'll be tons of cachers on the boat. You'll already have a group.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I have been approached by folks that are looking for folks to travel with. So I have some single, not single folks, but folks traveling by themselves.
Well, somebody
we're not a matchmaker.
Right. They just want friends to be there with them, kind of thing. They don't want to go by themselves.
They don't want to go by themselves primarily.
And the rooms are for 2 people, right?
Right.
That's how cruises are.
That's right. You pay as much for 1 person as you do for 2. So if there are folks out there that are open-minded and willing to talk to somebody about maybe partnering up and being cache buddies,
they're geocachers. Come on,
right?
We hang out with geocachers all the time. I mean, they're all good people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good folks.
I want to go so bad.
I talk her into it, I think.
I just can't this year.
So now there's several rooms, though. You've got some rooms left for this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We do.
And you got like a discounted rate, is that right?
That's right. The going price for the cruise itself right now for our least expensive room with the geocaching package built in at the normal rate. This is not the Geocache talk rate. Is $2,628.
Mm-hmm.
That does not include your airfare or hotel or travel insurance and other incidentals that we'll talk about. But that's the cruise itself. That's all the activities on board.
Food.
That's the food. That's the shirt, the coin, the all the stuff going on board the ship that we're doing. So when you look at it per day, it's really a great value.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Go ahead. So you're wanting to now people could come that are not I mean, if you're like a mix,
certainly.
Yeah,
that's what makes a cruise like this so appealing, is that there's so much for other folks to do as well. So if you've got friends and family that aren't quite excited about going, finding containers in the woods,
right,
then they can come and do the normal quote unquote stuff that people would do on an Alaska cruise: whale watching, go dog sledding, take city tours, things like that.
Right.
That's the appeal of the cruise, is that it appeals to so many different people. We can take it and use it for our advantage, but friends and family who might not share our interests.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfect because you've got built in something for Muggle for as Sandy of Podcaster says, the snuggles, which is your significant other who's a Muggle becomes a snuggle because, but you've got something built in. So like if you go do, how sometimes if you try to go traipse off doing geocaching, they're like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to just sit here. But in this case, you don't have to do that. You got something. I mean, you got built-in babysitters for the Muggles. So all this geocaches, get some serious geocaching done. There's plenty for them to do, and they won't feel like they're getting left behind.
Well, I think the value of having people on board actually know what you're doing can't be overstated. Right. I think City and I have both been on cruises and cached while we're caching, right?
Right.
I tried.
We're going to talk about that actually.
Oh, we're going to wait for a minute.
We're just going to wrap up.
Okay. I didn't want to jump in.
You're good. This is kind of our segue into. I want to talk a little bit about cruising in general. So let's do that. Let's talk about cruising in general, and then we'll kind of wrap up with a few words. I know the Costa Rica is 2 years out, but I know you're doing some planning for that already, John. So we'll come back to that. But let's do that. Let's talk about Sydney. Talk a little bit about your experience, and then Jesse has some of his experience. We kind of jumped ahead, but we're gonna go back to that. So
Sure. I have been on one cruise. It was only 4 days, and there's only one stop. So that was kind of sad for me. I definitely would not do anything less than a week-long cruise ever again, because you really need more than one stop to really mix things up and keep it interesting. So I found one cache in the Bahamas, and that was it.
Oh, hey, it was something.
And I was also with a bunch of family that has nothing to do with geocaching, and they wanted to go like swimming in the ocean and stuff. Whatever.
Right. It's just water. You've seen those before. But overall, did you, or like you said, you feel like if you're going to do one, you'd want to do more like the one?
Yeah, definitely do. I mean, I guess it depends, really. But I personally would have wanted a longer cruise with more stops so that you can see more, find more countries, maybe, stuff like that.
And have something like this where geocaching is sort of planned out. So
yeah, that would be great, because then you're there with people that you're doing the same thing with. Like I went with my family, and they don't go geocaching, so I was stuck doing, whatever it is they wanted to do. So
right. So and Jesse, you've done one.
I've been on 2 cruises, but only one since I've been geocaching. So that first one just wasted those 4 countries, obviously.
Right. Waste.
Might as well redo it, right? The second one, we went to 3 different countries, and the first one was Bahamas. So we were there, and it was easy in the Bahamas. I mean, there's several caches close that you can go and walk around and get to. And one of my favorite caches that I've ever been to, it's archived and locked now, but was down there in the Bahamas. It's called the Queen's Staircase, and it's been featured on geocaching and all that other stuff before, but it's just there's a big, long historical, a tale that how it got there and who made it and everything else. And it's awesome. And we would have ever found it, because it wasn't even like on literature or anything. The cruise didn't even tell us about it when we were getting off. We just happened to see it. And we come around this corner, and there's this huge structure there, and it's awesome. And so in the Bahamas, we picked up that was a traditional cache, and there was a nearby virtual cache. And then we go to this other one that we're kind of like walking back towards the boat. We're checking out the town and stuff, and we're walking up, and it's called Cathedral Cache. Obviously, it was outside of church. As soon as we're walking up, this dude's like, "Oh, y'all are looking for the cache, right?" Like we hadn't even walked up yet. It's over here. It's over here. And it's like a guy that worked there at the cathedral, like cleaning the grounds and stuff. Like, thanks, man. That's not how the game works, but cool. Right. So the Bahamas were great. We got one. It was easy. It didn't, everybody still had time to shop because we were there with the whole family and stuff. And then, so we go to the next port was St. Martin, and no. The next port was St. Thomas. I'm like, oh, cool. We got there late, first of all. So nobody cares that we get there late because it's just the weather. There's nothing you can do about it, right? So we get in there, and they're like, oh, but y'all have plenty of time for shopping, so don't worry about it. Well, what about caching? So I'm like, all right. And so my wife and the daughters go, and they're going to go do some shopping. Well, the shopping where they drop us off, because nobody's caching when they take us in, is nowhere near any caches.
Oh, no.
And it's so busy, you can't get a car. You can't do anything, right? There's no train nearby or anything. So there's one cache kind of close. So I start trucking it over there because we didn't have but that much time. So I'm trucking it over there on foot, running across. They're like, oh, yeah, this is going to go well. It was gone. Totally gone. It wasn't there. Crap. There's only one other one, and it was like half a mile away, further from where I needed to go. So I'm like, all right, I'm timing it out. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to have to run this mile. We're just going to do this. So I start running. I get further and further, and you can't get through the crowds and stuff quick enough.
Right.
And at one point, I had to turn around and come back. I barely made it back. And nobody knew. I didn't have nothing worked in my phone. There's nothing that works down there. So I didn't get St. Thomas at all the whole time. And I was nasty, sweaty, and because I've been running around town, getting lost, and get back on the boat. Now I'm mad, right? I'm just totally mad because I missed the whole country. So I missed the whole first cruise. Now I missed another country. I can't. I'm looking around. There's no virtuals. There's no Earth caches. You know, that's how desperate I was. I was going to take an Earth cache if I could.
Oh my goodness! You poor
But I
thing.
didn't. So, get back on the boat. I'm not happy. So we went to St. Martin after that, and I was like, all right, look, we had a whole day there, but there weren't as many caches close to where we were. And Christy and the girls were like, we're just going to lay on the beach. We're not running around looking for caches. We're going to lay on the beach and drink drinks and have them brought to us, in fact. It's like, all right, I'm going to go. Well, there wasn't one for like at least 2 miles nearby.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, you know, I probably won't get murdered. I'm just going to pay somebody to take me around this island. And
I'm probably not. Probably not.
This is not like an Uber, which one didn't even exist at the time. This wasn't even a cab. This is like a dude in a car. But I'm like, I can't run there fast enough in time, and I'd die if I did. So I just paid some dude cash. I'm like, here's all the cash I have. What do you give me a ride to the remote part of the island and don't chop my head off, please. So I go, but it turned out it worked out okay. Dude was really nice. We talked for a long time, and he actually showed me around a lot of the part of the island that was away from the touristy areas, like where everybody lives and stuff, and the real, you know, away from the part. So that was kind of cool. And the guy had been there forever, and he may have been totally BSing me, but I got a bunch of history lesson of the island. You know, it may have been all fake. I didn't even look it up because I don't want to know. Yeah, I don't even want to know if it's true. But I got some cool ones there because of that, and you know, he knew of the places. One was in another nearby resort, and he actually got me into the resort, even though I wasn't staying there to get this cash. And then another one was right outside like an elementary school nearby, and it was really neat. But it was a disaster, you know. Like I didn't get murdered, so that part was good. But I got my caches on 2 of the 3 places, but I totally missed the country because you just don't know ahead of time, right? And there was no group to go with. And I'm not generally worried about going anywhere, but I could also see how that was probably not the best decision at some points.
Right.
So, you know, don't know the country, barely speak any other languages, and it was kind of weird. And so it worked. I should have gotten 3 countries out of it. At least I got 2. But it'd been a lot cooler if I was caching with somebody. You know, you can get yourself jammed up in other countries or other places if you're not really paying attention. So it would have been really cool if I had somebody or there's an organized group that goes, yeah, we know that cache is there. You're safe. We're going to go get it. And you know, plenty of time. You're not going to miss the boat and be stuck in another country or whatever.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't do that.
I would still be in trouble for that if I did that one. So
Chrissy would not have helped you get home. Okay, see ya. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, she'd be like, "Peace, we're out." It would have been.
That does happen, by the way.
The people,
I was worried. I was a little bit worried in St. Thomas. I was like, they
don't wait for
make
you.
this.
They're just gonna go. You got to figure out a way to catch up. John, tell us a little bit about, based on those 2 stories, those of their cruising. What are some things that you'd like to point out about cruising and caching, I guess, in general?
It's funny, Jesse. I have a very similar story that happened to me in Jamaica. I wasn't even caching, but I got in the car with some guy who took me all over the place, and nobody had any idea where I was going or knew that I was leaving. So they could have totally killed me. So not the people die on my trips.
Right.
Anyway. But yeah, that can happen to everybody. Cruising, just in general, is a great way to see multiple countries, as we've talked about. We've talked about the Caribbean, we've talked a little bit about Alaska, but there's so much more to cruising than just that. There are river cruises through Europe. I've booked folks on 60-day cruises through the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, all of those places. I've never had the opportunity to do one of those. I don't have that kind of that
60
time.
days.
But 60 days.
60 days.
Wow.
And I've got one client that I love dearly. Her name's Joan, and she lives in Orlando. And she loved Disney cruises. She loved them so much that her life goal was to spend a full year on a Disney cruise ship. And she did that a couple of years ago, 365 days, not consecutively, but in bits and pieces. She added up. So there are people that that really enjoy cruising, and for good reason. Just because it's a great way to see so many different places. You only have to pack and unpack one time. You get great food the whole time and entertainment. It's a very easy way to see a lot of different places quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely
just in general, oh yeah.
Yeah. Chad in the chat room mentions that he's been on like 26 cruises all over the world.
Wow.
He says he's never going to do another one, but then he gets stalked into it by somebody else. Like, oh, let's do another again. So that's pretty cool. And somebody else mentioned the fact that they did, or Wet Coaster mentioned he did a Rhine River cruise. Found 17 caches in 3 countries. So,
wow.
So you have you'll help people. You can help people basically who want to cruise pretty much anywhere, right?
That's right, and not just cruising either. We also love guided tours for geocaching, and in fact that's what Costa Rica is next year.
Let's talk a little bit about the Costa Rica trip and kind of give us an example of something else we could do through AMS Travel.
That is a 9-day guided tour, and you hit a number of different cities. They'll be real close to volcanoes and mud pits and all kind of interesting things, rainforests with rope bridges that we'll walk through, cool. And all guided by a host who speaks the language. Costa Rica, natively, they speak Spanish.
Sure.
And so having a guide to bridge that language barrier is very, very helpful. And so the details of that one, they haven't announced the itinerary exactly yet. We have examples based on this year. So that one's a little far in the future. That's going to be a much smaller group. We're limiting it to 15 people. So it'll be a little bit more exclusive opportunity. That the one drawback is that on these type of tours, I don't have the ability to accommodate as many people as I do on a cruise ship.
Sure. But this one's but again, this one is designed, or you're in the process of designing it around geocaching.
That's right. There will be, in each of the areas, there will be caches that we can go get, while there are other activities for other folks, the muggles, if they will. And if I have enough people, I may be able to make it an entirely private group, and we just do exactly what we want.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's
cool.
Awesome. Where was I going next?
We take it for granted that everybody's been on a cruise, but I don't think everybody has. I mean, a lot of people go on cruises, but some people have never been on them. And I was one of those kind of reluctant cruisers. Somebody was talking me into it. I'm not going to say who, Christy, but she goes, "Oh, it'll be fun." I'm like, "Stuck on a boat? I'm going to get bored." And why I want to be all around all those people, all that. Man, cruising is so much fun. And you're like, "Oh, it's expensive." No, it's not. Now, I've been on a lot of vacations, and you're including your food. Everything is first class. You can't even do all the stuff on a cruise or in the ports. You could go on the same cruise a couple times and do different stuff every time. When you're putting together the whole package, and for people that have never done it before, the level of everything you get is top notch. It's a lot of fun. And when and that was before I even knew about geocaching.
Right.
Oh, but I mean, that was before then. Without even geocaching, cruises are fun already. So now you throw geocaching in it, and it's like cheating. You get to get like 4 or 5 countries. Come on. It's not fair. I'm signing up to go to Alaska. That's all there's to it.
Great.
Jesse, you want to be my roommate?
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure that would go over great.
I'm sure.
If I wasn't out of the country, I'd be going to this thing.
Especially, if you're going somewhere else that same month. No, Jesse, you can't go on any more vacations this month.
No, come on, I always get grounded.
Somebody mentioned about what's the cruise line? It's the Royal Caribbean, right?
Right, Royal Caribbean. The ship is the Explorer of the Seas, which is a good size ship. It's not the biggest ship in the world. They are ones that have eclipsed it since it came out. But when it came out, it was one of the biggest, and has so much to offer couples and families and teens and seniors. And it really is a ship that is built for everybody. It's got an ice skating rink. It's got a rock climbing wall. Yeah, it has just crazy features that you wouldn't expect to find on a ship. And it was so it's a great seller. I had a family locally, good friend of our family, went on this ship, this exact same cruise last year, had a wonderful time, and I knew this was the one that I wanted to offer to the geocachers. So it's a great ship.
And this is a family-friendly cruise ship?
Yes. I'll be cruising with my family, my daughter, and we've got some other families booked as well.
Very cool. And
that's one thing I guess people may not know too, is that cruises are not just like drunk fests for adults. The last one I went on, I had my teenager and my young kid, both my daughters, and both of them, they weren't even, I had to go find them. They
just have a good time.
Like there's like science camps and all this junk. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, why don't you come hang out? And they're like, no, I'm good, Dad. I'm going to go play. And they've got all their friends. And it's like, you're like, don't you go to school during the year? Why are you? They had this whole, I mean, it was great. It's all, they're safe. I mean, there's people watching them. They're not just like, oh yeah, jump overboard. It's good. It's safe for the kids. And you can do a whole family friendly cruise just as well. So for those of you that are thinking about it and have families, that's a good way a good family vacation too.
Jody mentioned in the chat room that her and her husband rented a scooter in the Bahamas, got 8 caches. So I guess I think we kind of covered it, but John, talk about the fact that if people want to geocache, you're already going to have, I mean, you could go off on your own, obviously. We all know that, but you're going to have whatever your need to get to wherever you need to get to for all the geocaching excursions, right?
That's right. Some are gonna be on foot. Some will have transportation to get us a little further out if we need to be. And it all depends on the size of the group that I'm accommodating and what if anybody has any special needs, any kind of mobility issues, that'll all be factored into it. So you'll have the ability to come with us if you want. You can go off on your own if you want. You don't have to geocache every port. There's a lot of great things to see and do. But that's why we're going. So that's what we're going to be doing each day. Right.
So to me, that's the great thing, is that all of the little nuance, all the little details for something like the geocaching part, I don't have to worry about if I'm on the excursion. So
before we move on, I didn't get to do my update earlier. I forgot. Somebody in the chat room pointed me to it. We are now down to 115 active webcams in the United States.
Man,
we lost another one.
Dropping like flies.
I don't know which one. They didn't say which one, but I looked it up. We're down to 115. They got rid of another one, so they're going down.
No, we need to bring it back. That's a whole other show. But
we're gonna have to get that brought back too.
we do.
Virtuals brought back. Now we got to get those brought back.
Yeah, we brought virtuals back. Now we got to get something else brought back. We just got to keep going. So,
all right.
All right. So we're kind of wrapping up tonight. What? Anything else, Jesse or Sydney, that comes to mind?
I'm so jealous. I want to go so bad.
Well, and once you add, like Jesse said, once you add up the price, it's not bad for what
I know it's not, but I just booked a trip to Florida, so that's our trip this year.
I'm not going to be able to go on this Alaska either, but there will be absolutely be doing this in the future, and it's cool that I'm looking forward to all the ideas and stuff they're going to be coming up with, just different places. I mean, I could come up with a bunch right now. Can you get me into North Korea, by the way? No.
No.
No,
I don't know if I can get you out.
No, Cassie. He'll get you in.
I can get in. I just can't get out. I think of all the cool places, and when you're traveling locally or just in the United States, you can plan these weird trips, and I do that all the time. But when you start getting further and further out, there's an advantage to having somebody that's used to booking these things, that knows where things are. And again, I try not to get murdered on vacations, so I need to be. And I fall off enough cliffs and junk as it is. I don't need to be getting also murdered.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait. This is Alaska. We already talked about, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to talk about Costa Rica coming up, and there's going to be all kinds of things that this just fits in perfect, even if you're just a traveler. But when you throw the geocache and cherry on top, it's a no-brainer. It's a perfect combination. So I'm excited about it.
Mm-hmm. John, I'll give you the last word.
Well, I really appreciate you guys having me on tonight, and I look forward to many more adventures together. And I'm going to change my slogan from "Adventure Made Simple" to "Nobody's Murdered Yet" on my trip.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Always a good guy, man.
It's a great line.
We promise you won't get murdered.
Right.
I don't promise.
Yeah.
Guarantee.
Full refund if you get murdered.
Full refund.
There you go.
There you go. Oh yeah, no, John, we're very excited to be in partnership with you. So love having you on as a sponsor, and we'll have you on again. We'll talk more. Obviously as things go on, and we get more
Have to
and
come
more
on after the cruise and tell us how it was.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Maybe I'll have some video to share and put it up on my YouTube channel as well. So
right, and hopefully some of our listeners will go, and they can definitely send us. Maybe put it on the website. We'll put a spot for some photos and add that in as well. So if you need to get to, if you're forget where John's website is, you can always go to geocachetalk.com, and right there at the bottom, one of our sponsored links is right there. Is AMS Travel Sales. So thank you so much again for being on and for joining the team. So. So next week, for show 83, we are going to do Maximizing Cachely with Nick Hubbard, so one of our other sponsors. So if you're interested in hearing more about some of the tricks and tips that you may not have even known is in Cachely, there's several things that I didn't know, and I use Cachely all the time. That's what my exclusive app. If you're an Android user, I still suggest that you listen to the show, because I think a lot of what we're going to talk about can be done within other apps. But I want to, I don't want people to not show up for the show if they use Android, because there are some things in there that I think will cross over into other apps. So that's next week. In 2 weeks, as Jesse mentioned, we are going to have on Rock Chalk from headquarters, and we're going to talk about what's new HQ. And we got some questions for Rock Chalk. Hopefully he's. I told him we would prepare him, so we're sending him a list of questions, because we got some things we want to discuss that we're I wouldn't say we're not happy with, but we've got some concerns.
I'm nervous for this, guys.
I know we're going to talk about these things, so
it's going to be.
It's going to be. It would be heated. We're Rock Chalk's a buddy.
Yeah, Rock Chalk is awesome. You can't get mad at him.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Jesse has some very. They're
good questions. They're good questions. Legitimate questions.
They are good questions. We told, and that's the thing. We told Rock Chalk ahead of time. We said, we're not gonna ambush you. We're gonna get you questions ahead of time so you can look up answers or whatever you need to do. So we don't want to make him look bad at all. We're not trying to do that.
Oh, heck no. We wouldn't ambush him anyway, even if he wasn't a good guy, which he is. He is. I've even met him personally. He's a good guy. Yeah. We wouldn't ambush him anyway. That's not our. No. We're not that show.
No, we're not that show. Yeah. He was at Moga. We got to see him at Moga, so that was fun. Mm-hmm. I had him on the show. He was one of my first guests was Rock Chalk for Geocache Talk. So, and then in 3 weeks, we got no show.
Super Bowl.
It's Super Bowl Sunday. So possibly John, your Jacksonville Jags might be in that.
I'm not going to hold my breath, but maybe.
Yeah.
No guarantee. The Jaguars may be in it. They may not. But we're not going to do a show that Sunday. We're going to watch the Super Bowl because we're kind of all fans of football, so we're going to watch that. But
that's right.
Anyway, hopefully everyone enjoyed finding out about this. We're very excited. And if you want to email us your comments, please do so. geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter @Geocache Talk. Mine is @Gary Slinkard, one word. Jesse is @Memphis_Mafia. Sydney is @ShermanatorGC. And John, yours is AMS
Travel Sales.
AMS Travel Sales is your Twitter. Yes.
Right.
And our Facebook is facebook.com/Geocache Talk. Show can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play. Just look around out there, you'll find it. And of course, it's always on the Geocache Talk website. And I promise I'm going to update it tonight because I think we're a couple shows behind on there. But we keep it up to date. We're going to update it tonight in case you want to either hear or see the show at a later time. And of course, don't forget to click on the subscribe button below so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. Until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. Join the 2018 cruise and go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.